good evening. It is Tuesday, and Sisters in Collaboration is back for another episode. And we have an exciting topic we're going to talk about tonight as business owners. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's talk. I'm so glad you guys are here. I'm Coach Tonia, and I got my co-host, Miss Coach Lucretia Shaw. And tonight we're excited to share some insights, strategies, as well as real life lessons that we've experienced, right, in the business spectrum, right, to help you run your business without losing your soul. I'm just going to first introduce myself quickly, and so I'll let Miss Lucretia introduce herself as well. For the ones that know me, I am Tonia Lewis. I am the CEO of T&L Customer Strategic Solutions, where I partner with leaders, I partner with business owners, organizations, ministries, right? And what I do with them, I partner with them to help them strengthen their leadership. I help them streamline their organizations and build service excellence that lasts, all while staying true to their faith and their principles so that they can run their business on purpose, with purpose, right? And at TNL, we want to be your last resort, but your first report, right? That's my motto. We want to be your last report, but your last resort, but your first report. Because I believe that, I was called to help some business owners, help people that have been in the corporate space, help people that are trying to start a business, help business that are already structured based on the experience that I've had, face these challenges so they can learn how to navigate to become more, sustainable and successful in their endeavor. So that's the reason I started my company, T&L. But I'm going to turn over to Coach Lucretia. Let her introduce herself and let you guys know what she does in business.
Thank you so much. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Happy Tuesday. Again, my name is Lucretia Shaw. I'm actually a woman who wears many, many hats, not because I chase titles, but because God entrusted me with assignments. I am the founder of Consult God First Publishing, where I help authors birth kingdom stories that transform lives. Not only that, I'm actually building my legacy. It's called Lucretia's Kingdom Legacy. And under this brand, of course, the publishing. Then I'm also into faith and finance strategist plus life insurance agent, where I protect families, build generational wealth, and teach stewardship God's way. Under that branch, being a grant writer and a professional writer, I do help individuals turn their visions into funded purpose as well. And I just got my certificate probably a few months ago as a coach. Certified life coach, where I am empowering women to align with identity, confidence, and God-given purpose. Not only that, being able to strategize different businesses, and people are like, how does she do all that? But listen, when you got God as the CEO in your life, He always make a way for you to be able to do multiple things without overwhelming yourself. But as a notary agent, Lucretia's Anointed Hands, and I just rebranded where it used to be Sisters in Battle Podcast, but it's called Kingdom Warfare with Lucretia Podcast. And it's a safe space for women and men to heal, to grow, and to fight the right battles in the spirit. So everything I do, let me say this, it flows from one assignment.
Absolutely.
And this is to help kingdom builders rise without losing their soul, to help entrepreneurs, visionaries, and everyday women build with God, not without Him. Because building is not just about business, it's about obedience, it's about identity, and it's about who you're becoming while you build. And that's why tonight's conversation is so important.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Look, you guys. Look, you got some business owners with you tonight. But look, guys, tonight we're going to go a little deep, right? Coming from corporate, I've seen a lot of things. I've experienced a lot of things. I've done a lot of things, right? But we're going to be talking about business, something that a lot of people, believe it or not, especially business owner, won't admit out loud, right? How do you lead? How do you grow? And how do you thrive in business without compromising your soul, right? Sometimes we get caught up in the aspect, okay, I need the money. Yes, we need the money, but at what cost? Do we need that money? So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. How do I maneuver in that space? How do I become an impactful leader? How do I train people? How do I communicate with people? How do I, deal with contracts, right? Without losing my soul, because I know I have a need, right? Because the truth is, business, look, you can't run your business without faith. I can't run my business without faith, right? And one thing I see often, Lucretia, is I see people, they jeopardize their character, right? They lose sight of their integrity. They lose sight of, guess what? At the end of the day, when it's all said and done, will God be pleased with my performance today? Not will man be pleased with my performance. Will God actually be pleased with my performance? And sometimes you don't have to talk about God to people, but the way you conduct yourself and carry yourself, that is a reflection of God, right? And so the reason this talk is so powerful tonight, right? Because we want to help people see that, guess what? Even though you're running a business, even though you're in the capacity of a leader, an employee, you don't have to jeopardize who you are in Christ. You can still serve with excellence. You can still align yourself with God and navigate the pressures of entrepreneurship without having to lose yourself. A lot of people are losing their self along the way. And the conversation tonight is dear to me is because, I've seen people lose themselves to business. And then once they get the money, they are spiritually bankrupt. They're spiritually bankrupt. Now they've compromised their integrity. They've compromised their character. Now they got to do anything and everything just to keep the money flowing because they've signed contracts with the devil.
Oh, Lord, I see that now. I see it now, Lord.
You see what I'm saying? So one of the things I wanted to talk about tonight, Lucretia, and the first one is when pressure tries to push you out of alignment. How do we handle the pressure when the pressure tries to push you out of alignment? Because believe it or not, people don't understand pressure will always make you move, right? If you ain't got God at the head, especially when money's involved. And so I want to just talk about that. How do you deal with the pressure? Because you're a business, we're just talking business owner, right? How do you deal with the pressure, right? And I'm going to give you an example that I experienced, right? And then I'm going to let you talk about yours. There was a season, right, where when I started my business, it was a big contract. God knows it was a big contract. And the money was good. And then, but with me, one thing I hate somebody that rushing me.
Oh my God.
Rushing me. And this particular organization was trying to rush me into a contract. They kept saying, look, it was kind of like a threatening way. They kept saying, look, you don't move now, I'm going to take my business elsewhere, right? But the flesh side of me was like, girl, you better go ahead and get that. You know what I'm saying? The flesh side was like, girl, you better go ahead and get that because that's good money. And guess what? That'll be a big boost for your company. And sometimes, you almost be right. Okay. But I had to quickly take a step back. I said, now, because I needed the money, because I needed the revenue, and because I was at the place where I got a little tired, sometimes we get a little weird because like, well, they ain't came in yet, right? But God spoke to me and he said, if they can rush you, they can run you. So if I would have let them rush me, that means they would have had control over me. They would have had control over my business because they knew I needed that revenue to keep the business flowing. And if they can run me now, they can ruin me when I get built. You see what I'm saying? So what I had to do, Chris, I had to slow down. I took a deep breath. I prayed. And guess what I did? I walked away. And no lie, 2 months later, Krisha, no lie, 2 months later, that client that tried to create chaos in my situation went and created chaos in somebody else's situation. But guess
Mm.
what? God protected me from that, right?
Ooh.
And then another thing, Chris, you get what they had to do? They had to come back because they created pain points in their business, right? That I had to go back, and they still had to pay me more than they were offering me at the beginning, so I could go and help them fix them. That's how God works. And when your business, when you get up under pressure, sometimes you have to take a step back. Is that actually pressure, or is that God telling me I'm trying to protect you? What are your thoughts on that, Krisha?
You know what? You just expressed something that similar. I have a similar story. I was working for this organization, this company, as a top leader, and I came in full force um, because as a woman, as a servant, I just didn't know. You just don't know how you're gonna serve.
Right.
Um, and they were one thing about me. I allow anything that I do, I allow God to be the CEO. I allow God to lead me in business. I don't like to feel pressure. And my uplines, they used to try to pressure me. They wanted me to get this contract, right?
Right.
And at first I was like, okay, I'm gonna be RVP. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that because I worked hard. I was resilient. I was a woman of integrity. I started speaking, on their platforms. I was like number one ever since I was in the company, and it was just like, okay, now they want me to get this contract, but then God slowed me down for a reason. And at first I wanted the contract so bad because I thought, okay, it's more money. Oh, they had it to where, oh, you can get this. You're gonna be here. This is for your family. This is just, and I took all of that in at first, but then when the season started changing, God started showing me that really, to be honest, that this organization was just temporary for me.
Right.
Okay. My uplines, they was trying to force me to do certain things. And I'm like, you know what? You're not going to force me to do this. I'm going to move at the pace that God has me to move. And then when I started researching about the contract, I'm like, oh no, 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 no. This is not something that God wants me to do because I also had other things, my purpose, the vision that God had gave me. God had to show me that I had put everything that He gave me on the back burner just to work with this organization. And God had to stop me in my tracks, Coach Tonia. He had to stop me in my tracks. And that put me in a position, I said, you know what? God had to make me realize when the business in that organization slowed down, I started seeing things.
Right.
And let me tell you, I walked away from it because I said, you know what? This is not my source anyway, And I walked away so that I could keep my integrity intact and I wasn't going to allow nobody to move me out of alignment or put me in a place where it would have caused harm, not just to me, but it would have caused harm to my family.
Right.
So I don't care if you're in business, do not allow no one to pressure you outside of the space that's why I said, when you said you got to have faith, you got to have faith. You got to let God lead when you're when you're in these type of situations. And I've had people to say, you know what? You're a woman of integrity. You're a woman of resilience. I know you're not going to allow this here to happen or pull you out of alignment or put you in a situation, because these are situations where they tried to pressure me to make decisions where it was going to cost my livelihood, where it was going to cost my family. And I had to walk. I said, you know what? I'm walking away from this because this is not serving a purpose. This is not adding value. I got to get back where God want me to get to. So I most definitely understand when you talk about pressure. Coach Tonia. That
Girl,
season had expired, okay? And when you
absolutely.
walk away from things that because even in the situation, I felt so heavy in it.
Mm,
I'm like, Lord, this is not. And I kept praying and asking God, if this is not where I need to be, you need to show me that this is not where I need to be. Because nothing that you're giving me or nothing that I'm involved, it's not gonna feel pressure.
right, right. Girl,
Yeah.
I agree with you wholeheartedly. And there are so many stories that I could tell you, you know what I'm saying? And that's one of the reasons, I kind of walked away. Well, I kind of retired a little early, because
Mhm.
I have, my character, it took me, I'm 53 years old. I always say I'm 53 years, but it took me building up my character, right? And I believe in my word is my word. If I'm telling you I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? But I was never going to lose sight of who I was, because at the end of the day, when I close my eyes, I have to answer and give an account for the
Right.
things that I do. And like I told you, there was another situation, and I'm going to share this because I know I'm sharing this and trying to be honest as I can, because I know there are people out there that may be experiencing the same things that we're experiencing. And we
Mhm.
want you to know that, guess what? You're not alone,
Mhm.
honey. You are definitely not alone. And so when you was talking about the integrity piece, it's going to impact your whole family, your livelihood. I had to
Mhm.
walk away from some things too. I had to walk away from some big money, six figures.
Mhm.
I had to make a decision. Was it worth me being able to sleep at night? Was it worth me, you know, being portrayed? Was it worth something coming back that's not going to not only impact me, but how is that going to impact my family? You see what I'm
Mhm.
saying? How are they going to feel about their mom negotiating or gating her integrity, her character, when I teach them every day? Look, all you got is your word. All you got is your
Mhm.
integrity. All you have is your character. And if your
Mhm.
character don't mean nothing, then guess what? Ain't nobody gonna let you get nothing or do nothing if they can't trust you. You see what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So that's the
Absolutely.
reason this conversation is so very important, because I know as business owner, as people that are working, in any capacity, there is a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure. But at the end of the day, whether you're in business or you're leading somebody, right?
Mhm.
You got to let God's direction speak louder than the pressure. And that's what I had to do. You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to retire in 2018, but I retired because guess what? I am not finna do something that I know full well. I don't
Mhm.
care how much money you pay me. I'm not going to do that. That I know full well. Did I want to leave my people? Absolutely not. I did not want to leave my people, because I built up some magnificent leaders. You know what I'm saying? Didn't want to leave it, but at
Mhm.
the end of the day, I couldn't lose me trying to stay connected to them. If that makes sense,
Mhm.
right?
It does. And you know what? I want to kind of piggyback on that because you're absolutely right. But I was thinking, I know we had, it's not about big things that pull business owners, out of alignment. It is those daily pressures that hit your spirit without warning, right? Because I know you were just to transition a little bit, where we talking about serving that turns into straining, right?
Mm,
Like even with client demands, Coach Tonia, there comes a point in business where, and a lot of people don't understand. Sometimes it ain't got to be warfare coming from the industry.
girl.
It's coming from people pulling on you in ways God never
Mm,
approved. So in that sense, I just, all of this is going to tie in together, where client demands become spiritual pressure when you are overextended,
absolutely.
right? Um, and I learned that even in business, when you start doing more work than the contract requires, you got
Mm,
you got more emotional labor than you ever
mm,
agreed to, right?
right.
And not only that, you got more bending than the Holy Spirit ever asked you to do. So overextension, that is the first sign that you're operating out of survival and not assignment.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes, Coach Tanya, we can overgive too in business. Like
Girl.
it's something that I had to learn, because when you keep pouring, even though clients are not honoring, stewarding or valuing what you already gave them, this is where many purpose-driven entrepreneurs get trapped.
Absolutely.
And I'm gonna say this: I've been one of those people, and sometimes confusing generosity with self-neglect, and a lot of people undervalue your time.
They do. They do.
People don't value your time. When you lower your prices, right?
Girl.
Speed up your deadlines and shorten your rest just to keep a client happy. Like I just did literally had to put one in place because I had to learn this is not service, it's self-abandonment in disguise. And then another thing too, I had to cut off because when you allow clients 24/7 access, they see you
Girl,
on social
I done
media.
told you.
Listen.
I
No,
done told
you're
you.
not outside of business hours. This is when I'm available. Because anytime somebody reach you at any hour, like I've had a client to text my phone at 8, 9 o'clock at night, and I'm like, wait a minute. I didn't even though I have automated messages, you know what I'm saying? But your piece is no longer protected. It's called public property.
Absolutely.
See, if you allow constant access, that creates constant anxiety, right? And sometimes that constant anxiety, it drains spiritual clarity. When you listen, this is something, and I'm speaking to the entrepreneurs out there because you might have some clients that contact you all time of night, 11, 12, 1 o'clock. No. We're not doing that because when their lack of planning becomes your crisis, when their last minute stress becomes your pressure, when their emotional instability becomes your responsibility, you are no longer serving, you are spiritually babysitting.
Absolutely.
But here's the truth: many entrepreneurs never want to admit to, Coach Tonia. Some clients just don't want your service, right?
They don't.
They want your spirit, they want your strength, they want your stability because they lack their own.
Absolutely.
They don't just want the product. They want your piece you carry. They want the when you walk in. They want the oil that covers you. And if you're not careful, entrepreneurs, they will drain what God gave you for your assignment.
Absolutely.
You can't heal what they refuse to address in themselves.
Absolutely.
So this is where God had to deal with me at. He said, you know what? You can serve people without surrendering your peace.
That's it.
So whether you serving in ministry, straining is bondage, right?
Sure, yeah.
Serving is obedience. So straining is self-sacrifice God never required.
Right.
Because Coach Tonia, serving brings fruit.
That's right.
Straining brings frustration. So whatever you do in business, your calling was never meant to crush you. And any client relationship that consistently strains your spirit is not a divine partnership.
Absolutely. Girl, you said a mouthful. Absolutely. And I see that all the time. And, me and you had talked about that before. You have got to set boundaries, You have got to set boundaries when it comes to your business because believe it or not, whatever you set your expectations as, you can't even get mad at them if they don't follow your expectations if you don't have any.
Absolutely.
Right. I told somebody before, they were operating a business. I was working with this organization. They're operating a business. Right. And so you got to be involved in your operation. It's easy to put somebody in the face of your operation, but never follow up on the face that you put in the place. So your store opens at 9 o'clock. They're not getting there to 9:15. You see what I'm saying? But guess what? You're upset with them when somebody brings it to your attention, but where were the boundaries and the expectations or your follow-up on those expectations from the jump? That's emotional labor. And then you take all that responsibility on you because now people are not looking at them. They're looking like, okay, who's responsible for that particular person doing what they're doing in that organization? And it's on you. You see what I'm saying? And I'm gonna share this right here. I hired somebody one time, right? They had all the skills, and I talked about that today in regards to the interview process and all we talk about. You probably heard this interview question as well. What is your leadership style and what type of leadership style you want to work up under? But you got to go deeper than what their leadership style is. They can have the best leadership style. They can have the best resume. They can have the best everything. Anybody can pass a interview, but who are you getting when they actually get into the organization, right? And so I hired someone one time. This is when I first got into leadership. I was like 27 or something like that, right? And I hired someone, they had all the skills. Girl, they had all the skills, but they were lacking discipline, right? And every week I was trying to correct them, remind them, and and trying to bring different ways of them thinking about things to get something accomplished. But guess what I was doing in the process? They knew what they were supposed to be doing, but I started carrying them more emotionally, thinking maybe I didn't explain it enough to them. Maybe I didn't, show them something. Maybe I missed something. But I had to grow up and check myself, girl, you not called to say to these folks.
Right.
But sometimes as entrepreneurs, because we're trying to run a business and we know we need the revenue for our business, we'll allow any and everything to get that dollar. But actually, when we get that dollar, we need another dollar to overshadow that dollar. We get in the habit of robbing Peter to pay Paul. When we could have actually, I believe in, before I take my clients, this is just how I operate in my business. My business hours are my business hours. I'm not talking to you after business hours, right? I've given a lot of information free. I've helped a lot of people free. I've wrote grants for free. I've done a lot of stuff for free. But people will come to me when it's free, but they'll go and pay somebody else. I had to learn that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I was doing it because I am a servant and I love serving. I love seeing people elevate and excel. I was giving all of my God-given gifts away for nothing. And that ain't what he told me. We can give so much that we can lack, and they'll go right out, take what you got, don't do nothing with it now. They're not going to do nothing with it, right? And then they'll get frustrated with you because you won't change you. But guess what? As entrepreneurs, sometimes we take that on because we're trying to figure out, okay, did I do everything right? When in actuality, we have got to be strategic with who we do business with. We got to ask God, and I ask God before I consult anybody. Everybody contract, I don't care how much money is, it ain't for me.
Right.
It's not for me. You see what I'm saying? But sometimes, and I know exactly full well what you're talking about, girl. Sometimes we need it and we just go into it without thinking about it. I've done that, but now I'm at a place in my life where, look, all money ain't good money to me. And everybody that wants to do business with me, you know what I'm saying? We got to be in alignment some way. Our values, our morals, something has to be in alignment. You see what I'm saying? Because what people don't understand when they come to me in my business, they think I can fix them. No, I don't fix you. You fix yourself. I just help you think a little different about the solutions that you already know that you need and put it back on you so that you can fix yourself. You see what I'm saying? And do the work for yourself. But like you said, that emotional labor, I took on so much stuff emotionally that drained me, and they were doing fine. So I would say to any entrepreneur, look, business is not easy. I'm not gonna lie and say business is easy, right? Marketing is not easy. Soliciting is not easy. You're gonna have some wins. Some days you're gonna make $1. Some days you ain't gonna make no dollars. Some months you may get a big contract. Some months you may not get a big contract. But be clear on your expectations so you won't find yourself emotionally tapped out. And when you find yourself emotionally tapped out, you're going to burn out quickly.
Oh, Lord.
And then you're going to start accepting anything and everything. And then you're going to start, losing sight of, why did I really start this business? Do I really believe in my mission and values? Do I really, is my business really aligned with what I'm trying to do for the people that I'm trying to service, right? So what I'm saying, set clear expectations. But when you set those expectations, you got to start enforcing them. Not when it's convenient, but when it's necessary all the time. And then some people, you just gonna have to release them peacefully, honey.
Ooh, I was just fit. Ooh,
You
Lord.
have to release some people peacefully. I tell them in a
Yes.
minute, look, thank you so much for inquiring, but unfortunately at this time, we're not in alignment. I mean, and
Ooh,
release people.
ooh,
And then
ooh.
I'll recommend them. Hey, I'll recommend you recommending somebody else. Maybe they may be able to do what you need. And even in my coaching clients, you know what I'm saying? I have 6-month program, I have, 90-day program. I hold them accountable because guess what? It's not all about the money for me. Hey, look, where we are right now, you haven't done anything, you haven't attempted to do anything. Hey, to keep you from wasting your money, hey, how about we just, break peacefully? You keep your money built up and you go and do the work that I already given you. And then when you're ready, come back.
Right.
Sometimes, because see, I'm the business owner. I'm not going to continue to just take your money when I know that you're not in a position or you're not ready to move. You see what I'm saying? I could, but see, I'm not going to do that because I don't have the heart to just take money just to take money. You go and get yourself together. And when you get ready to really do what you know you need to do, hold yourself accountable, become more aware of who you are, get up every day, document what you're supposed to be doing, follow instructions, not to benefit me, but to benefit yourself. I've
Right.
done that as well.
Mm.
I've exited out of this gracefully and peacefully with love and tell them when you get ready, come back and see me.
I
Not a
know.
moment before the end.
I know that's right. Cause look, that piggyback on what you just said because that was good. Because if they cannot respect your timeline, your workflow, your boundaries, or your expertise, they are not a part of your assignment. And something that I
Absolutely.
had to learn that God does not send confusion. If the relationship costs your peace, it is too expensive. You got some clients, they're seasonal. Some are sent for pruning. Some are sent for warning. And some, like you just said, we got to release immediately for your business to grow. So the final truth in this, y'all, is that your business thrives most when your spirit is not exhausted.
Absolutely.
Because, and God had to show me this, that a rested spirit hears God clearly. A protected spirit produces excellence. A strengthened spirit makes wise decisions. And a
Mm,
guarded spirit creates from overflow, not depletion. So
absolutely.
you don't need to lose yourself to serve other people. And you don't need to sacrifice your peace to walk in your purpose. And guess what? You don't need to burn out to be successful. I've learned a long time ago, even in business, I had this young lady when I first started, my podcast and everything. And you reached out to me and I was like, wait a minute, hold on. My spirit discerned that this was not a true, because on my podcast, we talking about real warfare. Listen, I don't play when it comes down to warfare because I'm called to it, and a lot of people don't understand what that means and don't know how to fight. See, when you can fight in the spirit, then you'll be able to fight physically. But I learned how to lead with boundaries,
Right.
and when I started allowing God to be the CEO of my business and work with God and not pressure, right?
Mm-hmm.
So even in this, and we're gonna talk about this because
Girl.
you had made one of the topics of when money starts talking louder than God, right?
Girl.
Um, this
I'm gonna
kind of
go there.
this kind of transitions into that because the enemy does not tempt purpose-driven entrepreneurs with darkness. Let me tell y'all, he tempts them with distractions that look like blessings.
What you talking about?
Coach Tanya, look, he uses shiny opportunities. Look,
Girl.
I almost to see. He uses shiny opportunities, open doors that aren't God ordained, and clients who come wrapped in favor, but they carry hidden warfare.
Girl. Girl.
Look, that profit temptation, it sneaks in during seasons of your financial pressure, emotional exhaustion, spiritual dryness, or desperation just to make it work.
Right.
And I'm gonna say this here. The enemy knows your price point. He knows exactly what number to use to tempt you into disobedience.
Mm.
And not every blessing is from God. Some are bribes wrapped in breakthrough
Girl.
clothing. You know, but you know, some deals can come to distract you now, and some clients can come to derail
Absolutely.
you. I'm telling you, anything that pulls you away from God is not provision; it's poison.
Absolutely.
See, I always include God in my business. I had this one guy to tell me, he said, you know what? And this was from previous company. He said, you know what, Lucretia? He said, you're going to always win. He said, you know why? He said, because you always include God in your business.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I see the resilience in you. You're a woman of integrity and your character
Absolutely.
outweighs any lie that was told about you. He said, I knew who you were when you first came to this company. And when I first heard you speak on the platform, who you were. And I've learned this too. God will never send a financial opportunity that requires you to portray your conviction, break your character, silence the Holy Spirit, step outside your assignment, or operate in fear instead of faith. Because let me tell you this, if you had to lose your peace to gain it,
Girl.
you're going to lose yourself trying to keep it.
Absolutely. And then what costs are you willing to pay? You
Mm.
know, sometimes we people don't understand, people don't think about the cost. You know what I'm saying? There's gonna be a cost. It may seem like, okay, oh girl, I got this big contract, I got this, but there's a price that you're gonna have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a price that you're going to have to pay. And even in business, you got to be able to recognize spiritual warfare behind the breakthroughs that they send your way. Like you said earlier, you know, the enemy knows what you need before you need it.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And so because he know, he going to send exactly, he going to send exactly the person.
He
And nine
tried it.
times out of 10, he going to send somebody closest to you.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody that can get a little closer to whisper some of your ear and tell you, girl, that's a good deal. Girl, I take that.
Mm-mm.
And then you lose on the end because you didn't consult God. In my business, I have a practice. I'm not making no decisions without, you know, talking to God. That's my
Right.
business, right?
Right.
My
Right.
business is aligned with my faith. I have to stay
Mm-hmm.
true to my core values, principles. And I've seen it often in leadership because, like I say, you know, I work with a lot of, you know, it's just, I was the only female in upper leadership just with men. And I had to stay true to who I was as a person, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of people had lost sight of who they were as people. You know,
Mm.
some people came in there. I had one person that I was working with came in there. I mean, just spirit filled, left there just as dry, had
Mm.
lost all sight of what he had. It had absorbed him, it had drained him,
Mm.
not realizing. Guess what? The enemy will come into your business and attack your business
Yeah,
because he don't want
absolutely.
your business to thrive. Because guess what? When you serving and you serving for the right reason in your business, not just to earn a dollar, a quick dollar, that means you're serving because you want to make an impact. You want to make a difference. You want people to actually, you know, be successful. He'll send everything, every distraction there is. He'll start sending mind tricks so that you can
Mhm.
start losing sight of yourself. Did I make the right call? So what I do with my business, you know, before you're able to book with me, you have to do a questionnaire. And the
Mhm.
purpose of that questionnaire is me setting specific expectations of the people that I would like to work with, right? Because when you answer that questionnaire, that tells me everything I need to know about you and at
Exactly.
what place you are in your journey and where you're trying to go. And the
Mhm.
purpose of the questionnaire is because guess what? You put that on paper.
Right.
I didn't tell you where you see yourself. And that gives me an
Mhm.
opportunity to hold you accountable to what you told
Mhm.
me that you want to
Mhm.
do. So when the contract or the relationship doesn't pan out, it is not because of me, it's because of what you said to you that you was going to do for you, for your reason. But you got to be conscious in your business. Guess what? Spiritual warfare is going to be behind some of these, you know, so, you know, these breakthroughs. And when you were saying about shining objects, you know, we got to look past those shining objects.
Mhm.
You're gonna have to pull back some layers, some layers. And I ask people, hey, even when I'm negotiating contracts, you know what I'm saying? I need to read the fine print. Sometimes people don't read the fine print. They get so excited they don't read the fine print. And the fine print It's where the enemy is. In the fine print. And then you've been signed your life over to something and someone
And
because you
don't
didn't take
even
time to
know.
read the fine print and ask God to help you discern what that meant, or go out and find somebody that can read that and help you decipher what that contract really means. But because he knows that as business owners, we're in business just to get the money, get the money, get the money. And the first contract we see that is, generating the money that we need, we forget all about God. We'll pick it back up if it don't work out. But we'll tend to forget about God, and we'll go ahead and make a quick, haste, rash decision. And then we'll lose on the back end of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want people to understand, just because you're a business owner, I don't care how spiritual you are. I don't care how much you know the word. The enemy will come at you even in your business. He'll
Nope.
come at you in your business with your employees. He'll come, you know what I'm saying? I've seen it. I've seen it. No matter how much you help people, no matter how much you give for free, the same people that you will feed, give free information, give free coaching sessions, give free consultations, will be the same people that will go out and try to slander your business. That's how the enemy works. They'll go right out and say things. No, it is not true. And then spend their money somewhere else, but then want to come back to you to get something else. I ain't lying, girl.
I know, no, you,
I
no,
done
you,
seen it all. I done seen it all. Right? But
no,
once
you're
you
not.
recognize it, you can start responding spiritually instead of emotionally. Because a lot of times we go into business with emotional triggers. I know I got to feed my family. I know I got to do this. God knows that, and the enemy knows that as well. So I can keep her emotionally unstable, running her business, running behind and chasing clients. Well, guess what? Only thing I can do is tap into her emotional triggers and make her succumb and sign her life away, right? And then I can control or run her. You see what I'm saying? Because people don't understand. Just because you're in business, that don't mean you ain't gonna have no spiritual warfare. The people that's closest to you gonna be the main ones that's gonna go out there. They ain't gonna support you. They ain't gonna share nothing, right? But they want you to buy every product they got. You see? And I'm just like, where do you do that at? So what I'm posing, right? And I'm gonna ask this question for our viewers online. And I want you to ask yourself, for those entrepreneurs, those business owners, right? I ask this question all the time. What patterns are showing up in your business right before elevation? And what do you do when they are revealed? Because you got to start thinking about this stuff, because in your business, you got to be prepared for what's to come. Just like when you're creating your business plan. When you're creating a business plan, you don't create a business plan for right now. You're creating a business plan for long term.
Right.
But a lot of times we create business plans thinking about, okay, this is what I want to do right now. That's fine if you don't plan on going anywhere. But if you're going into business, you should be going into business because you're trying to grow your business, right? That means you don't want to stay stuck where you started at. And if you're creating that business plans, you need to be thinking long term. If, like you said, your business legacy, if you're talking about legacy means never ending. But if you're creating that business plan for the right now, and you're not thinking about the underlying things that may take place in that business, guess what you're doing? You're actually self-sabotaging your business from the jump, because you're not thinking more than right now. Well,
Absolutely.
guess what? Can I tell you, people that are listening? The enemy has already created a long-term business plan for your business, because he know that you're thinking short-term. But guess what? He's worried about somebody like me, Coach Tonia and Coach Lucretia, getting in your ear and making you change your thought process about your business. So while you sitting here creating a short plan, business plan, he done already created a long business plan. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Already looking at what may happen, what I'm gonna do if she do this, what are they gonna do? And that's the same thing you need to be doing. But you need to let God be directing your plan for your business, right? And
Mm-hmm.
set clear boundaries and expectations of where you want your business to go. Who's gonna be a part of your business, and not just put everybody in what you got going on, because everybody ain't room for you, and everybody
Mm-mm.
is not equipped to help you take your vision forward.
Right. Absolutely. And you know what though? Everything really ties into how that leadership becomes a test of your character. Everything you just said, because leading people is holy work.
It is.
As a leader, see, this is a lot of people want to lead, but they don't never want to follow.
Girl,
I had to learn how to follow first before I became a leader.
that's it.
Um, it's being a leader is one of the highest calling God's give, because leadership isn't just about guiding other people. It's about allowing God to refine you in the process. Because here's the thing, as the patient person that I am, leadership will expose your patience,
Listen.
and not just with others, but with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a question that a lot of entrepreneurs need to ask themselves. Can you lead with grace even when deadlines are tight, emotions are high,
Mm-hmm.
expectations feel heavy, right? You got to also have humility, because if you look at it, leadership requires you to admit when you're wrong. You learn when you need it, and you grow continuously even when you're the one in charge. But also, you got to have discernment in this as an
Absolutely.
entrepreneur. Not every gifted person is your person. Not every volunteer is assigned to your vision, and not every yes is from God.
That's
You
right.
also got to learn how to be able to communicate, because if you got a team, your team cannot carry what you have not clearly spoken. See, consistency is key. It also plays a major role in that too, because you
Right.
can't lead people into discipline while living in chaos. So let me say this: God gonna test whether you can lead from your spirit, or if you trigger from
Girl.
your emotions. And
Absolutely.
and Coach Tonia, the spiritual truth about team challenges is most entrepreneurs think like team challenges means something is wrong with the team, but many times these moments
Mm-hmm.
they're like mirrors God holds up to show where your boundaries slip.
Mm-hmm.
That means you allow too much access, you tolerated too many excuses, you let emotions override
Mm-hmm.
standards. And where leadership, sometimes you gotta know where your leadership needs strengthening, because sometimes you expected excellence without training.
Mm-hmm.
You got a lot of people. Let me say this. Let me use this as an example. The previous company, that organization that I was with, it wasn't really no training. Like, how do
Girl.
you expect somebody to lead? You doing these Zooms every day, all
Mm-hmm.
day, and you're not training. I
No
needed the
training.
training. See, they gave responsibility, but they withheld the clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where your structure needs refinement. Confusion exposes cracks.
That's right.
Disorder reveals where systems are missing. They didn't even have a system in place. And
Mm-mm.
chaos shows where processes must mature. So you cannot ask God for more if you already mismanaging what you already got.
That's right.
Because God said you can't lead people spiritually if you drained emotionally. Because Coach Tanya, let's be honest, a depleted leader cannot pour. A
Nope.
distracted leader cannot guide. And a
Nope.
frustrated leader cannot hear God. Before you can lead others as an entrepreneur, if you have a team or if you're building a team, because I see a lot of people with travel
Mm-hmm.
business, some people just want you join my team, join my
Come
team,
on.
join my team, join. But let me say this: I just had an encounter where somebody wanted me to join, and let me tell you how this thing worked. Cause see, so I said, you know what? I'm gonna support my friend. I'm gonna hop on this Zoom and see what these people talking about, right? So as I'm sitting there listening to these individuals and the questions that I'm asking, they say, well, we're gonna get you over here to our uplines, and they can explain this to you. That was a red flag, because first of all,
What
if
you
you can't answer the questions, if you
at,
want to
girl?
add me to your team, You
Girl.
got to be able to lead and answer the questions that I'm asking you. I'm not following nobody who can't lead me nowhere, and I'm not shunning these people because they may be in a learning phase themselves. But I'm not joining anything. You got to be able to show me, because I'm realistic when it comes down to joining anything. And I said to myself, I said, Lord, I'm not building nobody else's table because you want me to build my own. But if you can't lead me and be realistic, then I can't follow you nowhere. Leadership is not just what you do, it's who you are becoming.
Absolutely.
Before you lead others, you got to be able, first of all, I even asked about, okay, well, how, as a long term person, I'm asking, how would this benefit me
Absolutely.
and add value to what I'm doing? And then I asked the question, I said, well, how long have you been in this industry? How have this business, you telling me, oh, you can make this, oh, you can, okay, well, how, show me the numbers. I got to be able to see what you're making. Are you making this type of money? Well, we just got, I only been in it a year. And I'm saying to myself, no, you can't do that. So I said that to say, before you can lead other people, before you ask anybody to join your team, entrepreneurs, you got to be able to learn how to lead with excellence. You got to be able to, people got to be able to trust
Trust
who
you.
you are as a leader. And let me say this, the organization that I left from, I had brought in over 200 people, like with it, like I was just, they just wanted me to recruit. Brought over 200 some people, but I wasn't the person just to recruit. Let me tell you, I'm the type of person, I build relationships.
That's it. That's it.
Relationships equals currency. And when I left that company, I had others to follow me because they knew the type of person that I was. They knew that I was an excellent leader because I served with excellence over there. So, okay, I know Lucretia is a woman of integrity. And I know that I can follow her, and I know that we're going to win together because it ain't even about her. See, as a leader, when you see your team wins, you will win.
Right.
It's not even about you. It's about seeing others win. And that what makes you an excellent leader. Not everyone is meant to build with you. Let me say this too. Some people are seasonal. You got some people who are training tools. You got some people who are divine alignments, and you got some people who are sent to test your leadership maturity. And most importantly, Coach Tonia, never keep someone in position just because of loyalty or comfort. Loyalty without alignment leads to stagnation. Comfort without competence leads to chaos. So let's just say your business is a ministry. Your business is a ministry, not a charity.
Girl.
So God had to develop me into that leader, because God is not asking you to carry people. He's asking you to steward your assignment.
Steward. And the thing about that, Creature, you said a whole mouthful, and you said some of the things that I wanted to touch on when it came to training, the training aspect, because that's what I do, right? The training aspect. I see what these companies will bring people in, and they give them a 2 weeks training. Don't even follow up to see what they actually retain or what they know. Don't even follow up to see are they functioning in that capacity? Because sometimes you can bring somebody on, right? They don't even know their product, but because you got a need and you pushing them out there to solve a problem that they're not even capable of solving, because you didn't take time to follow up to see, okay, let me get some feedback from them on that training. You just want to fill a slot, right? And when you were saying about this recruiting, and I tell people all the time, I've been in MLMs, and I know how it go, and I'm with you. when it comes to that. You can't tell me nothing if you can't tell me nothing about the product that I'm supposed to be offering. Don't send me to your upline. I want to know what you know, because this is where the scam come in. And I'm going to talk about that because since you brought up, been there, done that. The scam is not the organization per se itself. It's the people that are holding the titles of leaders that hadn't taken time to develop and build relationships with the people.
Exactly.
For them to focus on the product, the service, the servitude. And so they're pushing recruit. So now the organization has gotten a bad name from the fact that people didn't take time to do their due diligence and study and learn their craft. That's even in business, right? We embark on something, we start a business, but we don't take time to study our craft. We don't take time to try to master our craft. We're just trying to make a quick dollar and figure it out as we go along.
It will never work.
It will never work. And I had to tell someone in the organization, right? You got a great vision, but it can't go nowhere because it's not structured. You're going to pay more to revisit something that you should have done at the beginning by taking time to make sure it's properly structured at the beginning, making sure your people are properly trained, making sure they know the responsibilities of their positions, making sure if they're in a ministry leader, they know what their ministry. You see what I'm saying? All the standards or the expectations of their role, right? It means that, guess what? Because I see it's so much hype about leader. I'm leader. I got a title. That title don't mean nothing if you don't know how to service people. It means absolutely nothing to me.
I believe I had shook pole lady up because, babe, I got to asking questions. She said, I got to get off of here. And I'm like, Lord, did I just shake her up, with the questions that I'm asking? But I feel like, if you're going to present something to someone, you need to know what you're doing. Absolutely. You got to be able to ask those type of questions because.
But the thing about that, Creature, the reason she can't answer the question, because you got to understand when people, and I'm not putting everything on the leader, but I am holding the leader responsible. When you take on that role, it's your responsibility to make sure people are equipped.
Right.
When I was in business, when I was, working for the companies that I was working for, I made sure one thing, and anybody that worked under my leadership to this day will be able to tell you, right, to this day, and some of them will come back and work for me if I went anywhere and started anything, they will come and work for me. I made sure that they were self-sufficient. That's what leadership is. Leadership is making sure people are self-sufficient, right? Being able to have those open-ended conversations with them, letting them be able to express to you how they feel about your leadership and not taking offense when they tell you something that may not be pleasing sometimes. Because, in leadership has become this hype. You got people, I'm telling you, in authority, don't even like themselves. Don't even like themselves. So if you can't have a conversation with yourself and check yourself, but you want to check other people, guess what you're doing? You're wounding people in leadership. You're messing up lives. Because I take leadership serious. I take it serious. Yeah. If I'm in an authority role, that means I'm placed there for a reason. I'm there to steward what God has placed before me. To make sure that, guess what, when they leave or walk away from me, they are self-sufficient. They got everything that they need to be successful. Not for me to get the glory, but for God to get the glory. You see what I'm saying? But a lot of people don't think about that. And when you were saying about leadership, it's going to expose all your insecurities. I'm telling you, if you don't like people, guess what? Get in leadership. You're going to have to deal with people, and getting in leadership and not taking time to understand that, guess what? Your personality ain't the only personality you're going to have to deal with on a daily basis.
Absolutely.
You're working with people with multiple personalities.
Yes, Lord. Are you
able to adapt to the different personalities that you're going to be working? These are questions that we have to ask leaders. Are you going to be
Mhm.
able to deal with the different personalities that you're going to be working with? Right? If their style is not like your style, are you able to be able to deal with them in the culture and the environment that they're going to be in? Right?
Mhm.
If their style don't match your style, how are you going to be able to get them to drive the results that you need in your business? You see what I'm saying? Those
Right.
are questions we have to ask leaders, right? Because a
Mhm.
lot of leaders are just leaders with title only. They don't know how to treat their people. They don't know how
Nope.
to talk to their
Nope.
people.
Nope.
They don't
No.
know how to have conflict without feeling, like somebody's trying to make them look bad, without folding or ready to fight. But when you get in that air in that space, you got to know how to have those conversations, right?
Absolutely.
Because in business, I tell people all the time. I had somebody that say, "Well, I want my big business. I need to get all these systems. I need to do this. I need to do this, just everywhere in business." But what you got to think about when you go in business, you got to first write your plan. Yeah, you write your plan, but you got to be realistic with your expectations for yourself in
Mhm.
business. Because anybody that start out in business, it's going to be a one-man show for a while. Let's just be
That's
honest.
right.
It's going to be a one-man show, right?
Mhm.
But you got to prioritize. What do I have right now that I can utilize without trying to get myself overwhelmed or in debt? People
Right.
don't never take time to think about, what do I have now at my disposal that I can utilize right now to start my business, move my business, and work on getting everything else I need. But what we tend to do, because there's so much hype about going into business, girl, go out there and get all this money, go out here and get funding. Yeah, you're gonna need funding eventually. But if you can't steward the little money that you have right now, what are you gonna do with the big money that comes in?
Right.
That's a part of your planning. That's a part of your structuring. That's a part of your strategic business plan, right? But people, we don't talk about that. And so the reason I'm talking about it is because I want entrepreneurs. I want ministry leaders. I want, organizations to understand, guess what? There's a lot to, you know, being in business. And, when you write your mission statement, you write your value statements, a lot of companies, and I've went in and seen a lot of companies, they don't even know what their mission and value statements stand for right now. Because I had a
Mhm.
company, they've been in business, 50 years?
Mhm.
And I was doing an executive coaching with this particular leaders in this company, and not a word of lie, they didn't even know what their missions and their value statements was at this particular stage. Now, this is a well-established company. That tells me that, guess what? Nobody went back and revisit how they
Mm-mm.
felt at the time that they started the business, because your mission and your vision is going to change over time depending on what you got going on at that particular time. So
Mhm.
that was my opportunity to go back through that mission and value statements, and nothing that they had in there aligns with what they're doing today.
Right. And you know what though? Um, oh Lord, you said a whole mouthful.
You're
You
so
know,
silly.
when it comes to that, and a lot of people don't even understand because it also goes into. I say this, and a lot of people don't like to include, God into their
They
their
don't.
into their business. But I'm just saying, I mean, God is the CEO of mine. I know we've been on here an hour, but I did want to say this right here, and just transition a little bit. Then I'm gonna let you do what you got to do. We gonna close this thing out, but busyness sometimes though, Coach Tonya, I'm gonna transition a little bit. It kind of
Okay.
becomes a barrier to God, right? Because this is where most entrepreneurs fall without even noticing. Not into sin, not into laziness, not into rebellion, but into busyness. That silent thief of spiritual alignment. Like sometimes you wake up doing, you move from task to task, you pour out
Mm.
until you're empty, you collapse at night with a body exhausted and a spirit malnourished. And before you know it, guess what? You ain't even talked to God.
Wow.
You haven't heard from God. You haven't followed God.
Ain't said
You're
nothing.
building, but you're building in your own strength. Not, and this is where I see a lot of entrepreneurs fall at because you're moving but you're moving without direction. You're moving without
Absolutely.
peace. You're moving without divine strategy. And this is when the daily grind shifts from diligence into a spiritual bondage.
Right.
That daily grind becomes a spiritual trap when you're working without resting. I've
Mm.
learned to say, you know what, Krisha, my stopping time is this. This gonna be your stopping
And
time.
leave it alone.
Because God designed your body, your mind, and your spirit to reset. A lack of rest is not a scheduling issue, it's a trust issue. Um, and this is something that God had to really put on my heart because He said, you know what, you're producing without praying.
Girl.
But I've always been the type of person, I've always included God in everything that I did. My publishing company, my t-shirt company, anything that I do, I said, God, you know what? You the CEO of everything that I do. So a lot of times in business, you're creating but not consecrating. You're,
That's
you're,
right.
you're executing but not inviting God into the execution.
That's right.
Even unprayed decision becomes an unprotected door. Like you can manage a business in your own voice, but you can only build a kingdom assignment with God's voice, right?
That's right.
See, a lot of leaders lose their way, Coach Tonia, when they lose their ear.
That's it.
Like you're
Stop listening.
performing instead of partnering with God. Too many entrepreneurs, they don't want to partner with God. Oh, I did this myself. Well, who allowed you to do it? Who gave you the strength to do it?
Right.
You hustle instead of hearing. You grind instead of gliding. You strive instead of surrendering. And when performance replaces partnership, it burnout replaces breakthrough. People don't even understand that business is not always productivity.
It's not.
And productivity is not always obedience. Because God is saying, I never called you to build without me. I ain't tell you to do that. So look, when the grind becomes your God,
That's girl. Say that. Say
the
that.
grace on your life begins to dim.
Say that.
And when you put the work before the word, you lose the flow of wisdom that makes the work effective. See, this
That's
is
it.
where a lot of entrepreneurs mess up. Because listen, let me say this, and I'm gonna pass it on, pass the torch back to you. I'm gonna say this last little thing, but when you let business rush you, you miss the stillness where God downloads direction.
That's right.
Um, I always tell people to partner with God and how to work with God, not apart from Him. And every day you got to be able to guard your mornings like your life depends on it. Because your peace, your discernment, and your purpose, clarity, it truly do.
It
Because let me
does.
say this, y'all. If you start your day without God, your day starts out, you're out of order already.
Already, baby.
And you got to be able to start working from survival mode. When you work from panic, fear, pressure, you operate outside of spiritual alignment, and survival produces grind, but faith produces strategy.
Right.
Structure, I want y'all to hear me clearly. Structure does not restrict you.
That's
It
right.
frees your mind. It conserves your energy and creates space for God to speak. You got to be able to let the Holy Spirit be your strategist. Because get what God gonna do? He gonna show you what to build,
How
what
to
to
do.
delay, who to hire, who to release, what to
That's
say
right.
yes to, what to shut down completely. He is the best
Absolutely.
business consultant you ever have.
Girl, what you say? You better
Y'all
go
better
ahead and
stop
say it.
playing. Y'all better stop playing.
I know that's right.
Y'all better stop playing. So
You better
look,
stop playing. Look.
success becomes burnout when God is not your CEO.
Absolutely.
You can build a business through talent, but it takes God's hand to build a legacy.
That's right.
Y'all here, look, Lucretia's kingdom legacy. Listen, I've allowed God, and I didn't listen. God is leading everything. He's guiding my footsteps.
Everything.
He's ordering my footsteps. Cause get what? You can work hard, but only God can breathe on your work.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You can grind, but only God can give you grace. The daily grind is not your enemy, but letting it control you is. So I want
Mm.
to encourage every listener out here to let God pace you, let God
Yes,
partner with you,
absolutely.
because a business led by God would never lead you to burnout, only breakthrough. So I'm gonna say this, and I'm giving it back. It's my final charge, y'all. I done talked enough for the night, but this talk is for that entrepreneur, that ministry leader, that nonprofit visionary, maybe the builder with the mandate on their life, maybe somebody
Mhm.
who's in who's a leader in an organization, the one who refuses to lose their soul while building their dream.
That's right.
Because what good is elevation if you lose your identity?
That's right.
What good is influence if you lose your integrity? What good is revenue if you lose your relationship with God? If you want to build a business that honors God, you must commit to spiritual discipline in
That's
your
right.
daily leadership. I was the type of woman, as a woman of integrity, I refuse. Because let me say this, your character is your currency in the
That's
kingdom.
right.
And integrity will take you places your talent and gifts
Absolutely.
never will. Set kingdom boundaries. Y'all choose purpose over profit. Money is a tool. Purpose is your assignment.
Absolutely.
Never let your paycheck pull you out of alignment. And you got to pray before you plan, y'all.
You got
Planning without prayer leads you to burnout, broken focus, and misalignment. So God didn't call you to build fast. And see this, and let me say this, this is what my former uplines tried to do.
You better go back there.
I had to go back there because this was just they tried to move outside of God. They wanted to build
Fast,
fast, fast,
fast, fast.
fast,
Move,
fast,
move,
fast.
move.
And guess where it led them? Burned
Nowhere.
out. The whole thing just shut down.
Cool. Absolutely.
See, when you move outside of the will of God and you move out of alignment, baby, you're gonna be burnt down and you're gonna be trying everything, trying to figure out how to get here, how to get there. And when you run out of options, what you gonna do? God called you to build faithfully.
That's right.
He's not just building your business. Guess what he's doing? He's building you. Now I'm gonna pass this torch on back to Coach Chain. Let her close us out.
But girl, you said a mouthful, and everything is spot on, girl. Look, you guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed this conversation. But as we close tonight, I want you to understand business is kingdom work. Business is kingdom work, and your business is not separate from God. Your business is actually an extension of God. And when God called you into entrepreneurship, He wasn't just giving you a way just to simply make money. He was giving you a place to make impact, a place to serve people, a place to build people, a place to steward lives, opportunities, resources, as well as influence. Look, I'm going to say this again, you guys. Business is kingdom work. And every decision you make in your business is ministry. And every boundary you set in your business is stewardship. And every client you serve is an assignment. And every door he closes is protection. And every door he opens is purpose. And when you align your business with God, I'm going to give you 3 things that's going to happen right quick. Your strategy is going to become clear. You're going to know what you're doing. You ain't going to be all over the place doing 15 to 30 things at one time and not getting nothing done. Your leadership is going to gain integrity because now people can trust you and take you at your word.
Right.
And your purpose is going to automatically gain momentum. People are going to want to be attached to you because now your business is in alignment with God. And alignment doesn't mean your business is going to become religious. Let's go ahead and put that there. Alignment doesn't mean your business is going to become religious, because I know a lot of people say that's all you talk about. But no, I have to stay in alignment with the will of God, because I know who covers my business. I know who produces in my business. I know who gives me the ability to get up and serve, impact, steward. Without him, I don't have a business, right? And the business is bigger than the monetary aspect of it. The business is keeping myself in the presence of him so I can continue to build the relationships, right? That's going to give him, not me, him the glory.
Right.
Because if I give him the glory first, guess what? He's going to bless my business beyond. He said he's going to open up the windows and pour out.
I almost got to singing.
He will open up the windows. And he's going to look at how I serve the least of these. That's you see what I'm saying? That's your business. And when God is in your business, Coach, I'm going to say this. When God is in your business, you don't have to chase opportunities.
Mm-mm.
Ask me how I know. I'm a living witness. I don't have to chase clients. I don't have to chase opportunities, because when I'm in alignment with God, he sends the right person at the right time.
Yes,
He
he
sends the
does.
right contracts at the right time. I've been retired since 2018. I
Look at
haven't
God.
stepped in nobody's office since 2018. Tell me what God won't do. He will send me exactly what I need when I need it. Right? I don't have
Yes,
to
he
chase
does.
anything, because God is going to meet me there, because I keep my business aligned with his principles. And I
Mm-hmm.
don't negotiate. I don't bend. I'm not looking just for money. I'm not running behind no money. I set my fee structure. My business open at this time, it close at this time. You can't call me all the time. I got specific boundaries. I have specific structure in my business, because I know who provides for me in my family. I
Amen.
know who takes
Amen,
care of
sister.
me in my family, right? You don't
Mm-hmm.
have to compromise to grow.
Mm-mm. That was
You
good.
don't, you can grow without compromising your soul. And I tell leaders when I'm talking to them in the executive space, one leader asked me the other night on a Zoom, he said, well, how do you coach people that are in business without tying into the aspect of religion? Because everybody got their own beliefs. But
Mm-hmm.
I asked him, when you go to bed at night, how well do you sleep based on how you serve the people that you were leading? And
Mm-hmm.
would you want to lead your own self? Would you
Mm-hmm.
feel comfortable up under your own leadership with the mouth that you have, with the ways that you have? I wanted them to think about that. How
Right.
do you steward you? Would you like to be led by you? You see what I'm saying? So, what am I
Mm-hmm.
saying tonight, you guys? At the end of the day, real success is not just what you built, it's
Mm-mm.
who you become while you
Right.
build. And what will God say about you and your business? What will God say about you and your business? What will his people say about you and your business?
Mm-hmm.
What will they refer you to somebody else? That that's a valid question that we should be asking ourselves that. What
Mm-hmm.
is the cost of moving too fast? Because there is going to be a sacrifice when you get in alignment with God. There are going to be
Amen.
some things that you think you want and you need, but you ain't going to be able to touch it when you become in alignment with God.
That's
People are
right.
going to fall up by the wayside. So
Amen.
my question tonight, you guys, look, I hope this conversation has helped some business owners. You know, we talked about a lot tonight, me and Coach Lucretia. We bring
Yeah.
these conversations because we've experienced a lot of this stuff, right? We didn't
Mm-hmm.
talk about everything tonight because we know we got to come back the next Tuesday night, right? This is Sisters in
Yes.
Collaboration. We're excited about this journey that we're embarking on. We know that God has bigger and better and greater things in store for each one of us,
Mm-hmm.
individually as well as collectively. And I
Absolutely.
pray that every entrepreneur that's watching, every entrepreneur that may go back and watch the replay, I want you to tap back in and revisit your plan of action, revisit your business plan, and make sure that you incorporate what God says about your business and not what man
Mm-hmm.
told you to do in your business.
Exactly.
And when you go back and restructure your business plan, putting him in the front of it, then go back and start rewriting your plan and
Mm-hmm.
be open to hear what he's telling you to do. Don't move too fast. Listen to what people say. Well, you need to be right
Mm-hmm.
here. You are exactly where God wanted you to be at that particular time, because if he gave it to you, you wouldn't be able to handle it. If he gave it
Absolutely.
to you, you will lose it because you don't know how to steward what you got. So go back to your missions and your values and make sure your mission and value statements that people tell you to write for your business, make sure they are in alignment with God's will.
Yes.
And if you're
Absolutely.
not in alignment, if your purpose and your missions are not in alignment with what you're doing in your business, you already out of order. And we want you to get back in order with God. I'm
Right.
telling
That's
you,
right.
God will open up the windows. I'm a living God. When I
Ooh.
tell you, God will open up the windows of heaven. I've never missed a meal. I've never missed a mortgage payment. I've never been outside. I've never wanted for nothing that I ain't got. Because I put God at the head of everything I do.
Come on,
In my
Jesus.
business, in my personal life, I put God at the head.
Mm-hmm.
God, you know me. You created me. You formed me in my mother's womb. You knew who I was going to be before I even knew who I was going to be.
Absolutely.
And I let him take charge. And that's how I operate in my business. So look, you guys, if Miss Coach Lucretia don't have anything else to say, we've been on a long time. You know, we very long-winded. We very
Hey,
long-winded.
there's some good information. Somebody caught it tonight.
And I pray that somebody caught it. And I pray that whatever you touch, I say this all the time. I'm the type of person, you know, I always want to see everybody do well. You know what I'm saying? I love everybody. I want to see everybody do well. You being successful, if there's anything I can do to support anybody, I try my best to support everybody, because you being successful just does not jeopardize my identity. It does not take away from me. And so Sisters in Collaboration is showing that, guess what? There are some strong women, because we are some very powerful, strong women. Amen. That can collaborate, that can have an open-ended conversation, agree and disagree, and still support and show love and push each other forward, right? Mm-hmm. She pours into my cup, I pour into her cup.
That's how it's supposed to be.
And check each other's cups to see what we're missing and what we need for that week. Right. And we refill and replenish. So look, you guys, this has been a great conversation. Do you have anything else you want to say, Miss Coach?
Listen, we don't look. I haven't said everything I had to say. You know, I just encourage everybody to always just keep God at the forefront of your business. Invite Him into your business. Absolutely. Just piggybacking on what Coach Tonia said, because listen, I wrote a book called "Okay, God, Now What." True secret of success. Let me say this to everybody so they can hear me. True secret of success and prosperity comes from God.
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Catch it. True secret of success and prosperity comes from God.
Comes from God. Well, you guys, on that note, y'all take that in. I hope you guys have an amazing evening. We're gonna sign off for tonight. But look, next Tuesday, if you're not doing anything, you know, we'll be back here the same time, same place with another topic. If you go back and watch the replay, make sure you hashtag replay, so we'll know that, guess what, we've done what God has assigned us to do for this important time. Right? So you guys have an amazing evening. We'll talk to you again next Tuesday. Sisters in Collaboration. Good night.
How you do?